complex numbers. Write down the definition of imaginary number. Definition of an imaginary number is in the form of a plus bi. I comes from square roots of negatives. Before, when you took the square root of a negative number, it gave you an error message on the calculator, right? Now, by knowing that if you know this first table, you're set from here down to here. You know all the i's. I is the square root of -1. There is a I button on your calculator. Okay, so let me pull the calculator up here real quick.
We have to write down the table.
Yes, you need to know that table. Right here, you see where my arrow is? On the decimal point, above it in blue is your I. Okay? But again, if you know the first four, you're set. It's okay to have I in your answer. Anything above I, you need to simplify. Okay? If you have I squared, it simplifies to -1. I cubed, I to the fourth 1. After I to the fourth, it starts back over. So I to the fifth is the same as I to the sixth is -1. I to the seventh, I to the eighth is 1. If you do not remember the first four, then go to your calculator. Type it straight into your calculator. If you type in I squared into your calculator, we'll do that real quick.
Why is I to the fifth different than just I?
I to the fifth is I. I is okay to have in your answer. That's why I didn't write square root of -1 again. Okay?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So if I go here, and I just want to figure out what I squared is, you would hit second I squared, enter, -1. Second I to the third, enter, -I. Okay?
Where's the third on the calculator?
I use this button right here. So, second I to the fourth. Enter, is 1. Alright, so, we've got our definition down and the first 4 plus down. Alright, let's look at an example. Alright, so the square root of -4. There are a couple ways you could do this. And the first two, I did the first two the same, I did the third one a little differently. Square root of -4 I broke up as square root of 4 and square root -1. I know what the square root of 4 is. What is it? 2. And from what we just did on the previous page, the square root of -1 is I. Your answer is 2I. The way I did it down here with the 12, I took the I out first. If you have a negative under a radical, this might be the best way to do it. Just go ahead and pull the I out from the beginning, okay? Because square root of negative is I. Okay, you're left with 12. To break up the 12, you do 4 times 3. So your final answer is 2I root 3. Okay, so I prefer this third method or this method over this method. But either way,
How do you get 2
the last one, the last method is just pulling the I out from the beginning and then simplifying. Zach, what's your question?
How do you get 2I 3?
2I, well, you see I pulled the I out right
Yeah.
here. You broke up the 12 as 4 times 3. What's the square root of 4?
2.
2, so it comes out 2I root 3.
Why is 3?
What? Why is the 3 still there? Because it can't come out. We don't know what the square root of 3 is. To simplify the square root of 12 is just 2 root 3. Okay? Any number that's not a perfect square stays underneath. Alright, next, standard form of a complex number is written in the form of a plus bi. You write your real number first, then your imaginary number second. So your example is the square root of negative 9 plus 6. We know the square root of negative 9 is 3i, correct? Plus 6, but that's not standard form. So you just rearrange it from there. 6 plus 3i. Question? Okay?
Okay.
Everybody got that? All right, next is absolute value. Write down the definition of absolute value of complex numbers. Absolute value of a plus bi is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. Notice I is not under that radical. Okay, a is your real number. B is the number in front of I. So when you're calculating the absolute value of an imaginary number, you do not include the I. So, 2 examples listed below. The absolute value of 5i, what is your A value? 0. What's your B value? 5. So I do square root of 0 squared plus 5 squared, comes out to be 5. Second example, your A value is 3. Your B value is actually negative 4, but if we do, whether I do a positive 4 squared or a negative 4 squared, it's going to come out to be the same. That value is always going to be positive. So 3 squared plus 4 squared comes out to be square root of 25, which is still 5. So just make sure when you calculate the absolute value of a complex number, you don't put I under the radical.